In this video, I'm going to show you everything you need to know about using your moment lenses on your phone. So let's get into it. So these are Moment's newest mobile lenses designed for the latest smartphones. And we currently have two mobile lens lineups. M series is our previous generation of mobile lenses designed for phones made before 2023, and the T series lineup is our newest generation designed for larger camera sensors 2023 and onward. Right now we currently have 9 different lenses, a tele 58mm to double your optical zoom, a 14mm fisheye, or an 18mm wide, a 75mm macro, or a 10x macro when you need to get extra close, and 4 different anamorphic lenses to give you cinematic looking footage. And before I show you how to get the best results out of your T-series lenses, I just want to go over the mounting options real quick. If you're using an iPhone, you're going to want to make sure you have your Moment case and your T-series drop-in mount. If you have an Android device like a Google Pixel 8 Pro or a Samsung S24 Ultra, the T-series mount comes included with those devices. And if we don't make a case for your specific phone model, we also have a universal T-series lens mount adapter. You can slide this over your lens like so, tighten the thumb screw on the back of the phone, and you're good to mount your T-series lenses. The one lens that may have an extra step depending on your device is the Moment Anamorphic lens. If you're using an iPhone, it's like the rest of the lenses. All you have to do, line up the lens, twist, and you're good to go. But if you are using a Google Pixel 8 Pro, for example, the slots on the mount are actually going to be horizontal rather than vertical. So once your anamorphic lens is mounted on your Google Pixel, you'll just grab the included Allen key tool and find the little tightening bolt on the lens. Use the Allen key to loosen it slightly. And now you can adjust it to its proper orientation. Once it's properly aligned, tighten it back up. And the way you'll know your anamorphic lens is properly aligned is if you shine a strong light source directly into the lens and you see those horizontal lens flares evenly across the horizon. You might be wondering, because my phone might have 3 or more lenses, which lens am I supposed to use with my T-series Moment lenses? And T-series Moment lenses are designed to be used on your main 1x lens. This is going to give you the best result in terms of detail, image quality, dynamic range, and low light performance. And now that you know how to mount your Moment T-series lenses, let's go out and actually shoot with them. So right now we got the T-series 58mm tele lens. This is going to give me 2 times the zoom. It's great for portraits, landscapes, and details. So I'm just going to start shooting right now, and I'll give you guys some tips as we go. So I have B, she's right here, and then I have the mountains in the background. So it's going to give me a ton of depth and background separation. So I'll show you what that looks like now. Let me block the flare, 2, 3. And as you can see, the Moment tele lens creates this natural background blur, and it also compresses your photos. So you'll want to use this lens if you just want your frame to be a bit more punched in. And because on the iPhone 15 Pro Max, the 2 times tele is actually built into the main 1x lens. So now you can actually do tele on tele. So you can still get double the zoom if you'd like. Actually, 4 times the zoom, tele on tele. 2 times, times 2 times, 4 times. Another tip is add some foreground to your photo. So for example, I use this plant as a foreground, so it just kind of gives it a little bit more depth. All right, so I've done some portraits, some landscapes, but another really cool use case is actually getting some detail shots. So that can be if you are a product photographer, you can kind of just get some nice details and some nice flat lays that will actually look really good. It'll give you a lot more compression than just using your built-in 1x lens. The 14mm fisheye is the widest lens on the T-series lineup. This is a great way to get a unique perspective. Now, before we start shooting, the first thing I'm gonna recommend is getting the Moment Pro Camera app. This is gonna give you full manual controls, and one of the cool things is that you can actually go to the lens selector in the bottom right corner, and you can select T-series fisheye, and this will give you some distortion correction just because it's a super wide lens. So having a little distortion correction is kind of nice. So now let's shoot some portraits. So tip number 1 is going to be to get close to your subject. So if you take a photo with your fisheye lens like a regular portrait, it's just going to kind of look like she's too far away. But what you can really do to get like a wider distorted perspective, you can go like super close to like her feet. Cool. Or you can even go like over top and then put your hand in front of me. 1, 2, and 3. That's cool. Normal portraits, you just want to go like straight on almost, but with the fisheye, you can go like super high, super low angles, super unique angles for shooting on the fisheye. Also, if you do plan on shooting in the native iPhone camera app, one thing you're gonna wanna do is, if you notice you have your moment lens on and it looks like this, that is because your lens is trying to do an automatic macro mode. So what you'll have to do is go into the camera settings and then scroll all the way to the bottom, turn macro control on. Now when you're in the app, you'll just see a little flower on the bottom left. Tap that. Now you get to shoot on the native camera app with your moment lenses. So that's how to get the most out of your T-Series fisheye lens. It's a really cool lens for experimenting and just trying something different. So just have fun with this lens. The T-Series 18mm wide lens, it sits right in between your native 1x lens and your built-in ultra-wide in terms of focal length. This can be great for architecture, vlogging, and just anywhere where you just want a little bit more in your frame. So let me show you how to best utilize your 18mm wide. So one of the situations you'll want to shoot with the T-Series wide is maybe if you want to shoot architecture. So I have just this beautiful building right here, and I just want a slightly wider field of view because I'll show you right now, this is kind of what I would get with no wide. It's just a little bit not enough. Now mount the T-Series wide, now you can kind of get a little bit more of that building in there. If you're traveling somewhere new and you just want to capture a little bit more of the environment around you, then this is a great lens for that. So another great use case for the 18mm wide is just getting some portraits, but also showcasing your environment. So I'll kind of show you right now. We have Mia, she's sitting over here, and we got like a cool little frame. So I'll just have you look that way, Mia. Okay, 1, 2, 3. So now right here, this is without the 18mm wide, and you get it, but you don't get like the full architecture. So this is kind of like a cool way if you want to get some portraits, some architecture, but you also don't want anything super overly stylized. You just want something kind of nice and pleasing. This is a great simple lens to do that. Another tip is when you're out shooting architecture and landscapes, you're going to want to try to find reflections, whether that be in windows, mirrors, or just something that is reflective of your environment. This wide focal length is kind of going to allow you to get in nice and close and still capture a lot in your frame. And now you can get a complex, really cool shot with reflections. Another cool use case for the 18mm wide lens is actually going to be for vlogging. This is going to give you just a little bit of extra space. That way you can pick this thing up and just start rolling. What's up, everybody? And adding just some simple accessories, I have a Joby GorillaPod Moment Pro MagSafe tripod mount. And if you toss a mic on top, you have a cool little vlogging setup. Now, if you're looking to get macro shots, Moment currently has 2 different lenses on the T-Series lineup. The first one is the 10x macro. This will get you around 0.6 inches away from your subject. And then the 75mm macro, this will get you around 2.75 inches away from your subject, so you'll capture a little bit more in your frame. So for reference, I just shot this white flower, and if you want to get the whole flower in the shot and some nice bokeh around the edges, you're going to want to use the 75mm macro. But if you want to get those tiny details of the flower, like say one of the petals, then you're going to want to use the 10x macro because this is going to get you a lot closer. Okay, tip number 1 when shooting macro, I'm going to recommend that you download the Moment Pro camera app. The really important thing for macro is getting in focus, and basically you can pull your manual focus to select which part of the subject you want to be in focus. There we go. Pulling focus correctly on macro lenses is really important because it's such a shallow depth of field that there's not going to be a lot in focus. So say if you're trying on the iPhone app, you're going to kind of struggle to pick which part you want to be in focus. It's actually working okay, but it's kind of hunting a little bit and kind of guessing. So it's just a little bit more finicky than just pulling focus manually in the Moment Pro camera app. Okay, so tip number 2, a lot of people only use these macro lenses for photos, but you can actually utilize them for video as well. Whether you're filming a short film or you're just trying to get a detailed shot, you can get some really nice detailed videos with the macro lenses. And also another great use case for these is if you are a designer, then this can be really great for capturing details of clothing or gear or something that you created that you just want to capture that really, really fine detail of. If you're looking to get cinematic footage, then you're going to want to look at the Moment T-Series Anamorphic lens. There's 4 different options for you. You can pick between 1.33 squeeze, 1.55 squeeze, and choose between gold flare or blue flare. So you have plenty of creative options to choose from that fit your style. But before we get into how to get the best images out of your anamorphic lens, I want to show you real quickly what anamorphic does. All right, so this is what your footage is going to look like without an anamorphic lens. And now you'll see when I put the lens on, It's now squeezing your footage so you could then de-squeeze it in post-production or in app and get this nice cinematic aspect ratio, and also get these super cool lens flares that are like light beams across your frame. So that's what Anamorphic does, and now I'll show you some tips. In order to save yourself one extra step in post, I'm gonna recommend going into the Pro Camera app for iPhone users, and under the lens selector, you're just gonna tap that, and you can go into T series, and I'm gonna scroll down, and I'm using the 1.33 gold flare. So I'm just gonna select that, and now it's automatically gonna de-squeeze my footage for me. And if you are an Android user, I will link some good apps to use that will de-squeeze your footage for you in the description. So yeah, that's just a great way to kind of save yourself some extra steps in post-production. My next tip for you is to avoid getting shaky handheld footage. Because you're using an anamorphic lens, it's another lens element in front of your camera. So if you're doing a bunch of shaky movements, it's just gonna look kind of like jittery and wobbly. So that's why I would actually recommend getting a gimbal and doing some nice tracking shots. Combining the Moment anamorphic lens with the Zhiyun Smooth 5S gimbal, it gives this added production quality and almost makes you forget that you're shooting on a phone. In my opinion, this is a cheat code to get cinematic footage on your phone. My next tip is don't be afraid to experiment and get a static locked off shot. I just talked about getting some smooth tracking shots and some smooth motion with the gimbal, but also another great way you can get a nice image is just by composing your frame and just letting it rest and just letting some motion enter or exit the frame. Also, if you are an iPhone 15 Pro or Pro Max user, I am definitely going to recommend using ProRes Log, because this is going to allow you to get a little bit more flexibility and freedom to color grade the image how you like. So I'll show you how to do that in the Pro Camera app now. You're just going to go into the settings, scroll down to video settings, and I already have it toggled on, but you would just toggle on Apple ProRes. Under video codec, I'm gonna strongly recommend shooting in ProRes 422 Proxy or 422 LT. This is gonna be a smaller file, but still give you more than enough flexibility. Now that I'm shooting in ProRes, I'm just gonna go to where it says default Rec 709 on the left, and then I'm gonna go to Log Apple. And now I'm shooting in Apple Log. And don't worry if you're not using an iPhone 15 Pro or Pro Max. I'm using the regular iPhone 15, and one of the color profiles you get is wide P3. And as you can see, it looks pretty solid in camera, and especially if you throw a LUT in, like the warm mobile LUT that we sell in the Shop Moment store, it's gonna look really nice. Alright everyone, so that is your ultimate tutorial to using your Moment lenses. I hope this helped to get you set up and inspired. And if you do have any questions, feel free to ask away in the comments, and we'll see you in the next one.